I think for Filipinos who are expats, especially to countries like in Singapore, we tend to want to satisfy other people. And because of that, you're putting yourself at the back burner.
Meet Richard Ke, a seasoned marketing professional who has worked across China, South Korea, and Singapore. Originally from the Philippines, Richard is also a certified life coach who has coached almost 500 clients, helping them live more meaningful and intentional lives. In this video, he shares the most common challenges professionals face today, what he enjoys about coaching, and his honest advice for those starting fresh in a new country. So if you're navigating life abroad or just feeling stuck, this video is for you. And stick around to the end and let's begin.
You can tell from my accent that I'm originally not from Singapore. I grew up in the Philippines, but I've been here for the past 20 over years. From a professional standpoint, I work in marketing in Meta, which is the mother company for Facebook. But on a more personal note, I am a certified International Coaching Federation coach. I'm also a certified behavioral consultant. On an even more personal note, I'm also caregiving for my mother, who is currently suffering from anxiety as well as depression.
Tell me more about your experience as a life coach. How do you explain what it means to be a life coach to the viewers?
I think life coach has a lot of meanings for different people. Some people may, sort of like overlap that or think that is it the same as mentorship or is it the same as therapy? The International Coaching Federation actually has an official definition for that. If you think about it, like if you visit a doctor, typically it's because you're sick, then you visit a doctor. That's also the same way as how you're looking for therapy. Typically, you would be facing certain issues, whether it's childhood trauma, you're facing, anxiety or depression, stuff like that. Then you go and hopefully get yourself sort of like back to normal, by looking for a therapy. So it's more of looking at what has happened before that led you to where you are today and sort of like fixing, quote unquote, your current situation. In terms of mentorship, it's moving you from where you are now to where you would like to be. However, the key difference is in a mentorship program, you're being told on what you need to do. So typically when you go to a corporate setting, if you have a mentor, typically the mentor will tell you, okay, do steps A, B, and C because I've experienced it already. These are the things that will help you to move to where you would like to be. In a coaching program, it's also taking you from point A to point B. The key difference, though, is that the coach will not be telling you what you need to do. Because the belief in coaching is that the client would already know what is the best solution, and it's up to the coach to unpack that and drive awareness of that solution for the client to know it on their own. So the methodology will be more what we call powerful questioning, through holding the client more accountable, doing a lot of reflections, enabling reflections and awareness for the client to identify and own what will be the next steps to take them from point A to point B. And why this is more interesting, in my opinion, is because sometimes a mentor will tell you you need to do A, B, and C, but that's not really what is the reality within your situation.
Yeah.
For example, a mentor can tell you, hey, you need to talk to this person, to that person, etc. But you may not have a good relationship with this person or that person. Or budgets may have changed, or the context may have changed versus what the mentor used to have. So the idea of coaching is within your own reality, within your own context, let's try to identify what will be the right next steps for you. So that's sort of like in a nutshell what coaching is about.
I like that you pointed out how life coaching is different from mentoring.
Yeah.
For me, when I hear of it for the first time, it's usually almost the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Could you give a brief background on how many people have you helped through your coaching program and what's the profile of your clients?
Yeah. I think I've coached more or less around coming to 500 clients already, because for you to get the ACC, you will need to coach X number of hours. And on top of that, I'm very happy to say that I've also launched my own coaching practice. Now, to answer your question about what are some of the common themes, right? I think the first one is really on boundary setting. And I think this is very common for Asians, because Asians, we typically would like to be collaborative, we would like to keep the peace, we would like to be harmonious, etc. To the point that sometimes people's agendas are superseding our own happiness and our own satisfaction. The challenge with that is then we lose our own voice.
Yeah.
Because, for example, a relative was telling you, hey, you needed to do it this way, because if not, then you won't be perceived as a good kid, you won't be perceived as a good husband, for example, or a good mother, etc. So boundary setting, knowing your limitations and knowing yourself is one very big theme that I've always been seeing. The second big theme is about people pleasing, and this is, I think, a bit more particular even to the Filipino clients that I have. I think for Filipinos who are expats, especially to countries like in Singapore, you would see that we tend to want to satisfy other people because we feel that we are foreigners here, we have more things to be at risk for. Some of our friends, maybe they don't have a PR, they're very dependent on an EP. So their status in Singapore is very much linked to the job that they have. So because of this, they tend to think, okay, I'm very desperate, I want to stay here, and because of that, I will just say yes to everything. So this idea of I don't have a choice and I need to say yes to everything is another very, very big theme that typically I help my clients to unpack. The third thing, which is a bit related to the second piece, is more on being an advocate for yourself. And I think being an advocate for yourself means pushing for what you believe in and having your own vision and having your own mindset and even having the right behaviors to be able to advance what do you as an individual want to achieve. I think the challenge with most folks is they would like to prioritize other people's emotions and feelings first. And because of that, you're putting yourself at the back burner or you're putting yourself at a lower priority. And I've seen this quite a number of times that it manifests out as either you're having the anxiety, potentially you're going to start facing a bit of depression, you're going to face self-doubt, and you're anchoring your own happiness a lot to other people. And because of that, you kind of like lose your own self. And by the time that those people disappear, because maybe they move on or what, then you kind of feel, so what is now my identity? Because you kind of like anchored your own self, your own vision to another person or set of people, and that's another challenge. So those, I think, would be the three big themes that I've been seeing in the coaching.
Basically, you talked about people pleasing,
Yeah.
and being too dependent on people,
Yeah.
such that when it comes down to yourself,
Yeah.
you have a hard time finding who are you as a person.
Correct. Advocating for yourself, knowing what is your own voice and pushing that voice forward, I think is a very typical challenge for most of the people, either at my age range or like perhaps some of the viewers' age ranges, because some of them are even manifested due to the beliefs that you have about yourself, and it's due to what other people may have told you, whether it's family or friends or a certain situation.
You help people overcome various challenges in their life.
Yeah.
Let's segue into a more personal side of things.
Sure.
You yourself have gone through a lot of life challenges already, especially you moving to Singapore from the Philippines.
Yeah.
How did you overcome those challenges along the way?
Yeah. I think a lot of it really came from, if I step back a bit, right? The benefit of growing up as a Chinese Filipino in the Philippines is that we're already a minority to begin with. The last that I've checked, this was like years ago, is that the Chinese Filipino makes up around 15% of the overall population in the Philippines. Now, because of that, you're already a minority since growing up, and that actually means that we have to be more flexible in integrating with the bigger population. Now, to your point on like what are the different challenges, right, moving over here, if I connect that to the previous story, I think moving into a new country means that you have to be adaptable to what that new country's requirements are.
Right.
I remember one time when I got relocated to China, there was this expat training that was given to us. And the expat trainer told us that, hey, if you're coming to a new country, it's like you're going to a person's home. So that means that you have to be really open, you have to be hospitable, you have to be courteous, because at the end of the day, it was your choice to go to that country.
Yeah.
Nobody forced you to go to that country. So if you're going to go there and if you're going to be all complainy and whiny and all that about that new place, and of course that is not the best representation of your mother country, nor is it going to be a good representation of how you should move forward with your stay in that particular country. So I think point number one is being very flexible is a key skill that you need to have in order to navigate to a new country. So flexibility. I think the second piece linked to flexibility is having an open mind and being curious. I think curiosity is so important because it's also part of coaching whereby you need to have a learning mindset. If you believe that you are the one who knows all of the answers across all and your mother country, for example, is the best, etc., then what is it in for you to move to that new place? The point of moving to a new place is to have a new experience, to learn a new thing, to gain new relationships, networks. Yeah. And I think the third piece is getting your hands dirty into that country. And that means embracing the good, the bad, the ugly. I remember one time when I used to live in Korea, people would always think, oh my God, Korea is so good, great skincare, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I remember the first few months when I was there, it would be very lonely because you don't have friends. People there don't speak so much English. For you to open up a bank account, you even need to use this app called Papago, which is like Google Translate, but local version. If you need to book a cab, everything is localized. I have to learn the Korean language. Of course, it's not as good as a local, but the point is getting your hands dirty, going to where the locals go, just makes the experience much more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually quite fascinating for me to hear about your experiences, not just in Philippines and Singapore, which we're here right now,
Yeah.
but also in the different stops that you've had throughout your career,
Yeah.
like China, South Korea,
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah. There was the US where I studied there. I did part of my MBA there as an exchange student. I stayed in Ithaca with Cornell University.
Wow.
Yeah, that was quite fun. You're up in the hills, up in the mountains. Very interesting place, definitely.
So much for your experience living away from home.
Yeah.
Probably my next question to you is, at what point did you decide to become a life coach, given all your experiences?
Yeah. I think I have always enjoyed mentoring ever since perhaps my days in PNG, like one of the first few corporates that I was with. I enjoy the idea of sharing my knowledge. I've enjoyed the idea of helping and seeing other people grow as well. Even as a people manager, I enjoyed that. And I think the source of that was because I benefited also from other people helping me out. So I think it's the whole idea of paying it forward. So I think it came out very natural for me. But I think the real trigger point on why I thought of like, hey, getting myself certified, etc., was the point when my mom had, her mental health struggles. I actually went for therapy myself. I went for counseling myself, and I've also spoken with like one life coach, like one coach who was a family friend, and I absolutely benefited from both scenarios. And I feel that at this day and age where people's mental status slash emotional status can be a bit more in a risky space, whether it's due to gadgets or due to social media or due to the higher risks, risk factors or the higher pressure environment that we have today, I feel there is a role that everyone can play to be able to help, whether you're a friend, you're a partner, you're a spouse, etc. But I think the difference of doing a coaching program is that you go in with much more intention and with the right skill set on how to help. I realized also when I was first helping out with people, it's more of me talking and telling you what you need to do.
Yes.
Where in fact, a lot of times, what the person actually needs is just a listening ear.
Yeah.
And what the person just needs is, hey, can you help me to unpack my feelings a bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Or can you just help to listen on me rant? Or can you just help to give me a sense, am I right? Am I wrong? So my point is different people have different needs.
Yes.
For them to go through and cross over that slump.
Now, suppose you're going through a tough time, be it adjusting to a new country, starting a new job, or just feeling stuck in general. Now, let's be real. We all face challenges, both professionally and personally. And sometimes, what we truly need at the moment is not a quick solution, but someone who is willing to listen without judgment. And that's what coaching is really all about. Creating space for clarity, growth, and support, all centered around what you need. And whether you're a coach or not, just being there to lend a listening ear can go a long way in helping someone feel seen and understood. Now, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe and share it to someone who needs to hear this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.